Hello, fourth graders. Welcome back to Fiesta Gardens Library. This is our 6th week of library during distant learning, and today we will continue with 4th grade rats. We are in the middle of chapter 8, and chapter 8's title is Rats in Training. And Joey, Suds' best friend, is training him to be a good rat. First thing they did was watch the movie E.T. until Suds stopped crying. Next, Joey put spiders on his arms until he stopped screaming. Also, Joey made Suds walk on the rooftop. And remember, Suds' sister came by and tickled his feet. And now they are going to the playground. So let's see what is next in Rats Training. Chapter 8, page 83. For my next test, Joey led me to the little kids' playground at the park. "What are we doing here?" I asked him. "You'll see," he said. We waited, watching little kids. After a while, Joey said, "You hungry?" "A little," I said. "For a Twinkie?" "Yes." Spongy cake, creamy inside. I love Twinkies. "Go for it," said Joey. He pointed to a little kid. He was eating a Twinkie with one hand. The other hand held another Twinkie. "He doesn't need to," Joey whispered. "I can't," I said. "Take care of number 1. I can't." "Judy Billings, Judy Billings." The kid was passing us. I reached out. I snatched the uneaten Twinkie. The kid howled bloody murder. I shoved the Twinkie back in his hand and took off. Last test, last chance. We hung around my room waiting for my mother to ask me to do something. When she does, Joey said, "You know what to say." Sure enough, pretty soon my mom showed up. She said, "Suds, will you excuse yourself from Joey long enough to empty your wastebasket, please?" Silence. Joey waiting, my mother waiting, Judy Billings waiting, the world waiting. I couldn't stand it. Maybe if she hadn't smiled, maybe if she hadn't said please. I said, "Okay, Mom." As soon as my mother left the room, Joey gave me a disgusted grunt. "First, you give back the Twinkie. You can't say no to your mom." Then he pointed to my one-eyed teddy bear. "I guess you're not going to throw that baby thing away either, are you?" I looked at the bear. I looked at him in shock. "Nah, I didn't think so," he sneered. "Better forget it, Morton. You'll never hack it as a rat." He got up and left. I emptied my wastebasket. I figured he was right. I figured I was dumping my chances with Judy Billings out with the trash. But I didn't figure on what happened Monday at school. Chapter 9. You want a rat? It was lunchtime. I took my tray through the food line. As usual, I waited for Joey. As I was waiting, I saw a sight that made my eyes pop. Judy Billings was sitting a couple of tables away by herself. Usually, she was surrounded by her girlfriends. Judy Billings alone. I couldn't believe it. And I couldn't pass up the chance. Judy Billings. Walking over to her table was as scary as walking on the roof, but I did it. I sat down next to her. "Hi," I said. "Mind if I sit here?" She kept looking at her grilled cheese sandwich. "Yes," she said. I giggled. I grinned. I was thrilled. Yes, it was the first word she ever spoke to me. I'd remember it forever. Yes, yes, yes. "I said I'd mind," she said. "Oh," I said. What should I do? I was in too deep to back out now. "Okay," I said. I got up and sat down on the other side of her. "This better?" "No." She kept speaking to the grilled cheese sandwich. Did she think I was the sandwich? I felt my chair move. I looked up. into the face of Gerald Willis. He was pulling my chair backwards. When it was away from the table, he tipped it forward. I slipped right off to the floor. It was the bench at the talent show all over again, only worse. I got up. I slunk away. Kids were laughing. One of them was a third-grade angel eating a piece of chocolate cake. I didn't take the cake from the angel's hand. I just shoved his hand, cake and all, into his face. Then I mashed them around. The whole joint was laughing. Not very nice. As I walked out of school that day, Judy Billings happened to be right behind me. This time, I didn't hold the door open for her. I let it shut right in her face. I went straight home, up to my room. With one swipe of my hand, I sent my whole Matchbox car collection flying from the top of my bookcase. I probably would have destroyed my room right then if I hadn't headed for the bathtub. No tugboat and dinosaur this time, just me and the water. I didn't turn it off till it was up past my belly button. I sank in deep as I could. I wanted to pull it over me like a blanket. I wanted to forget the day. I wanted to forget 4th grade. By the time I got out of the tub, I thought I was feeling better. I was wrong. As soon as I got back to my room, I punched Winky, my bear. At dinner, Zipper-Nose smirked and sneered and snickered until my mother finally said, "What is it?" "I can't tell," giggled Zipper-Nose. "I'll get in trouble." "If you don't stop that carrying on, you'll be in trouble." "Okay, I'll tell." My mother looked at me. "I'm not sure I even want to know now. I'll let Suds tell me later if he wants." "No," screeched Zipper-Nose. "I want to tell." And before anyone could stop her, she told about Gerald Willis in the chair, about the 3rd grader and the cake in his face, about the whole place laughing. Bubba was going into spasms over the cake scene. My parents just stared at me. My mother looked hurt. "That doesn't sound like you, Suds," she said. "They were laughing," I reminded her. "Are you going to attack everybody who laughs at you the rest of your life?" "Yes," I said. "Maybe I will." I got up from the table and stomped off. "Take a bath," my mother called. I did. "Take another." I took another. Didn't do any more good than the first. I decided to go to bed early, get myself unconscious as quick as possible. I put on my PJs, turned out the light, and got under the covers. I felt something with my foot. What could be under there? It felt like wood. It felt like snap. Ah! Suddenly, I was on the floor, and the mousetrap was on my big toe. I pried it off. I went to the door, yanked it open. I heaved the trap down the hallway. I screamed, "Okay, you want a rat? You got a rat." He got his foot stuck in the rat trap or the mouse trap that Polly Zipper-Nose put in his bed. Chapter 10, No. For the next 2 days, I went on a rampage. If I saw a little kid with a Twinkie I wanted, I snatched it from him. If I saw a little kid on a swing, I pushed him off, whether I wanted to use it or not. I laughed in class during silent reading. The teacher told me to stop. I kept laughing. She gave me a detention after school. My first ever detention. I laughed all through it. Instead of putting candy wrappers in my pocket, I threw them in the street. I walked across people's front lawns. I rang doorbells and ran. My mother put a new box of Klondike bars in the freezer. I ate them all. I stuck chewing gum on my bedpost. I left my dirty clothes on the floor. The next time Bubba bared his fangs and went, what? I said, "That's my name. Badness is my game." And I tied him to the bathroom doorknob. I snuck up on Zipper Nose. She was in her room, lying on her stomach on the floor, reading, wearing socks. I pounced. I plunked myself smack on the back of her legs. In a second, I had her socks off. Most times when I tickled her, I would stop when she started screaming. This time, I didn't stop. She laughed and screamed and bawled herself blue. Tickle contest. I didn't stop until my father pulled me off. He shook me by the shoulders. "What's getting into you?" "Nothing," I said, "just getting her back." What was getting into me? Even I didn't know. Didn't care. All I knew, whatever it was, it felt good. It felt great. Why had I waited until so late in my life to have my first rampage? Joey was right. Angels finish last. No more last for me. This dude was heading for the gold medal. I ran upstairs. I pointed at Winky. "You're holding me back," I told him. "You're out of here." I opened my window and punted him into the backyard. Aww, got rid of his teddy bear. There was only one thing left to do. My chance came next morning. As I was getting ready for school, my mother poked her head into my doorway. "Pick up this floor before you go," she said. "It's a war zone." She was already gone from the doorway when I sent my answer. "I don't have time." She appeared again. "Pardon?" "I don't have time," I repeated. "It'll only take a minute. Make time." "After school," I said. "Now," she said. "No," I said. Before she recovered from the shock, I was past her and down the steps. "I'll see you when you come straight home after school," she called as I breezed out the door. The next voice I heard was a whole lot different. I was half a block up the street when I heard it behind me. "Hi, Suds." I turned. Not that I had to turn to see who it was. I could have picked Judy Billings's voice out of a million. She was smiling. She was looking at me. I wasn't a grilled cheese sandwich after all. We walked to school together. Judy did most of the talking. She kept telling me how famous I was. Everybody was talking about me. But I was only half hearing. I was in a daze. I just kept looking at her beautiful face and thinking, man, wow, I'm walking to school with Judy Billings. I can't believe it. "Well," I heard her say, "could you?" I snapped out of my daze. "Huh? Could I what?" "Let a bee sit on your arm like Joey Peterson did." "Sure," I said. "No sweat." For Judy Billings, I would have let an alligator sit on my arm. But we couldn't find any bees. So she said, "How about a spider?" "Why not?" I said, playing cool, trying not to sound nervous. We started searching the gutter and sidewalk and the walls of the people's houses. I spotted a couple of spiders, but I didn't say anything. Then Judy called, "Here, look!" It was on somebody's brick wall. It wasn't a little white house spider. It wasn't little and it wasn't white. It was poking along toward a window. "Just put your hand there in front of it," Judy said. "Let it crawl on." She was so excited. Her eyes were wide. Her voice was squeaky. "Could be a black widow," I said. "So," she said, "it won't bite unless you're mean to it." She was staring at me, waiting. The last 10 minutes had been the best 10 minutes of my life. Was I going to give it all up because I was too chicken to touch a stupid insect? I put my hand on the wall, flat. The spider went around it. I did it again. The spider climbed aboard. Judy shrieked, "Yo!" She pulled on my other arm. "Come on!" "Where?" I said. "School. They have to see." By the time we got to the schoolyard, the spider was up around my elbow, a tiny-footed nightmare on my skin. Judy called, "Look, everybody, look!" Kids came running. They jerked to a stop when they saw it. They gasped. "Oh!" They gawked. "Oh!" "It's a black widow," she announced to them. "He's doing it for me." The spider was up on my shoulder now, heading for my back. I couldn't see it anymore. I kept my face cool, but I was praying. "Please don't go on my neck. Please don't go on my neck. Especially don't go down my shirt." The bell rang. Everybody ran for the door. Nobody was looking. I swatted and twisted till I was sure the spider was gone. At morning recess, I was mobbed. Wow, Suds, a black widow. Black widow, man. Weren't you scared? Ooh, Suds. Judy was mobbed too, mostly by girls. He did it for you? I guess we were both famous. And there are all the girls and everybody cheering him on. Next time, we will continue with chapter 11, What's Wrong with Joey? Fourth Grade Rats by Jerry Spinelli. Have a wonderful fall break, and I look forward to seeing you when we get back. Bye-bye, fourth graders.